Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Morning Brief with Jimmy Song and Tone Vays. My name is Valentin Schmidt, and I'll be the host for today. And we got a couple of great stories for you, including a follow-up to yesterday when we promoted a tweet by Whale Panda where he said that CNBC Fast Money is not in control of their own Twitter. And they got back to us doing this little video. Jimmy.
At CNBC, Fast Money. And no, the account is not run by an intern.
So apparently it's not run by an intern, which I found really funny. I would say that an intern probably would know a lot more about Bitcoin than those jokers. So yeah. The people that actually run the account probably know way less. You have to understand about this industry that, young people actually know way more than the old people. It's completely reversed. So, I actually hope, I think it would be better if an intern ran it.
What about you, Tone? You also would prefer an intern rather than the husband of the person in charge, right?
Exactly. I agree, because an intern would actually be an employee of NBC or CNBC or CNBC Fast Money. I don't know how their organizations are structured. So I don't know if how much of a subsidiary it is versus how much of a standalone it is. But it's very, very clear, thanks to Whale Panda, that the CNBC Fast Money Twitter account is being ran by a non-CNBC Fast Money affiliate, which is the husband of someone that is supposed to be running the Twitter account. And he is completely biased towards Bitcoin, BCash, right? It's very, very clear. Also has this thing for cars. And this is a huge conflict of interest, right? Because if he's running that account, he's directly profiting from the pump of BCash. Again, insider trading laws are very, very specific to stocks. But if CNBC Fast Money expects to be taken seriously as a real company, that's not something that they should be doing, because the guy running that account is probably also, shilling BCash guests onto the show in order to sell his position.
So Tone is accusing CNBC of some bias, and I'm sure we're going to get some more info out of them, see how they respond. However, they did have this Twitter poll, and whatever the guy's doing, it doesn't seem to be working, because they ask whether Twitter users prefer the Bitcoin Core over Bcash, and it's 79% in favor of Bitcoin Core. So clearly they have to push Bcash a bit.
I wouldn't call it Bitcoin Core. It's just Bitcoin, right? There's Bitcoin, and then there is shitcoins, right? So basically what the Twitter poll is just showing is that people on Twitter at 80-20% kind of understand what is Bitcoin and what isn't. I'm extremely disappointed in the results of that poll. The fact that it's 80-20 and not like 98-2 is extremely disappointing, and it doesn't. It doesn't bode a lot of confidence for, in my opinion, for the intelligence level of people in crypto.
Yeah, I love this poll. It's they were clearly trying to get people to vote Bitcoin Cash, or at least the guy that's probably influencing his wife to put a poll up like this, and probably feeding her tweets or something like that. But regardless, I think that people have spoken. CNBC Fast Money. If you actually want real opinions on Bitcoin, I suggest you get somebody that knows what they're talking about instead of just Bitcoin Cash biased people, which you constantly seem to have on. So, at some point, maybe they'll figure it out. I'm gonna issue a direct challenge. Get Tone on there. I'm sure he would love to talk with you guys. So, yeah, there you go.
Yes, get Tone on Fast Money, but don't you guys?
Like half their people have me blocked on Twitter. I mean, Brian Kelly has me blocked on Twitter. Ronnie Most has me blocked on Twitter. I'm surprised CNBC Fast Money account doesn't have me blocked on Twitter. Right?
Yeah. This is why it would be great, right? Like, it'd be great for ratings, because obviously there would be conflict, and Tone would come on there and like say, hey, you know what? You guys are such shields for Bitcoin Cash or something like that. I think it would be great. CNBC, if you're watching this, here's your challenge. Get Tone on the network and have him talk about Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash instead of your, you know, hand-selected people. I promise you will get better ratings with Tone on there.
Having said that, can you guys comment a little bit, because it does seem that Twitter as a platform is pro Bitcoin, as Tone said, and not very much in favor of BCash. Whereas there are other platforms, I think there are some Reddit forums where BCash dominates. Could you comment on that real quick?
Sure. Well, the Reddit forum is specific to BCash, right? Like our BTC is just a cesspool of BCash shells. So obviously it's going to be towards BCash. I mean, I don't really care for our Bitcoin at all, but our BTC is simply there to pump BCash. So if people at CNBC were pointed to our BTC, then yeah, they have no idea the reality on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, nobody goes on Reddit anymore. Like, there's very few stories that are original there. It's usually like links to tweets or rants by random people. If you're gonna rant and you want people to see it, you should put it on a blog, because at least that lasts. You put it on Reddit, it lasts for like half a day at the most.
Yeah, Jimmy, that's what Reddit was designed to do. Reddit was just there for people to look for things that are popular on the internet. Yeah. Reddit was never like the original design of Reddit was never meant for original content. It was meant to filter other content to figure out what is important and what isn't.
Yeah, I just don't think it's a very good filter at this point. I see everything I need to see on Twitter, so I don't value Reddit very much. But that said, you know, the biggest indicator of what people like is price. Price. That's it's pretty clearly. It's funny because this poll here, 79 to 21, it's not that far off from the current ratio of Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash in terms of price. So maybe it's a really good indicator going forward.
Okay, so we leave it at that. The Twitter debate. Twitter seems to be a fairly diverse and open platform. Another active Twitter user is Charlie Lee, who probably announced there that he sold all of his Litecoin and probably made a bunch of money.
Tone, you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, no, I didn't know I was going first. All right, so this is the problem with all other altcoins. They have leaders. Having a leader is an issue, right? Like, what's his name? The Dogecoin guy, Palmer, Jackson Palmer. I mean, he walked away from Doge a long time ago, right? I mean, the problem with these things is that your creator remains the dominant person, and then things like this become an issue. This is why Bitcoin is so unique, in that Satoshi stepped away a long time ago, and he was never a visible entity. So this is the problem that all of these altcoins are going to have. And I'm remaining with what you and I talked about on my show the other day. Litecoin is basically just taking Bitcoin's code. They're not going to be able to innovate anything new because all of the brain power is on Bitcoin. They're going to program for Bitcoin. So, I mean, Litecoin, I guess, is a good short-term alternative while Bitcoin fees are high, and Bitcoin fees will remain high until companies like Coinbase and BitPay and blockchain.info start integrating SegWit, right? It's amazing how many people are like trolling me on Twitter now, making fun of my statement from about a year ago where I said SegWit is going to solve the congested block problem, but SegWit adoption is only about 5 to 10%. Come back to me when SegWit adoption is 90 to 95%, and then we'll see what SegWit did or didn't do. But right now, it's as if SegWit never took place because no one is adopting it, mostly for malicious reasons.
So ironically, he did write that post on Reddit. I just saw that, not on Twitter. But Jimmy, what do you think about the centralization problem that Tone pointed to?
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. Like, Charlie does have a lot of influence over Litecoin, obviously. The story itself is very interesting because Gavin and Jeezen pointed out, well, if I was a public figure and people knew I had a lot of crypto assets, I would also tell everybody that I sold everything just so they wouldn't come after me. And I think he's kind of right. Like, do we know if Charlie actually sold it? How do you even prove a negative, right? Like, how do you prove that you sold everything and don't hold it somewhere else?
And how do you prove that you sold something like billions worth of holdings when the price actually tripled over the last 3 days?
Yeah, I don't know. You can't prove a negative, so he may be telling the truth, in which case, great. He may not be telling the truth, in which case I don't blame him at all. Like he's worth probably billions at this point, almost like just on Litecoin is my guess, but I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah, so
I agree.
Yeah, so in a sense, like this story is kind of interesting in that this is what he's publicly saying, but the private reality, we don't really know. And this is kind of fun in a way, but at some point I imagine a lot more people will be doing that. Gavin ended his tweet with "P.S. I sold all my crypto assets," which I found hilarious. But pretty good, insightful tweet from him. You got to give him credit when it's due.
Yeah, well, one of these days there might be similar public statements from you and I, Jimmy. It's coming. Just for the record, in case people in in the outskirts of Venezuela are watching, because I'm going to be there soon. I don't own a lot of Bitcoin, right? So,
you sold all your Bitcoin, right, Tone?
No, I never had that many. I got scammed for most of it, in 2015. So I'm like Andreas. I'm not a millionaire.
All right. Well, good to know.
Okay, let's move on to the next, which is Coinbase and Bitcoin Cash saga. Coinbase may have given away its own Bitcoin Cash, and we highlighted some market issues there yesterday, where people basically could buy but they couldn't sell, all this kind of stuff. Does this article provide any further insight into what happened?
Well, This article has like the worst headline I've ever seen, because when I saw that headline, like look at the headline, it made me believe, and because I know how irresponsible Coinbase is, but that headline makes me believe that they actually lost all of the Bitcoin Cash, right? That's what that headline looked to me. So I started reading the article and I'm like, oh, I'm not surprised at all. Like the biggest surprise, I believe, in crypto is the fact that Coinbase hasn't been hacked yet and had their Bitcoin stolen, considering all of the dumb moves that they've done over the years. Well, like I'm amazed how they're able to hold on to that Bitcoin and not have it taken from them. So I'm not surprised at all that they're the ones responsible for their own investigation into insider trading, because they gave it all away. Now, again, the article points out that Coinbase sent out a press release saying that they will give people their BCash by January 1st, but they would not add it as a trading asset till later. So clearly, they decided to play sneaky fox and not only add it as a withdrawable asset, but on the same day, add it as a trading asset, which they totally botched. Again, I'm not surprised by the incompetence of Coinbase at all. And if anyone is and now they're like, oh, we're investigating insider trading. What are you investigating? It's crypto. There's no such thing as insider trading. It doesn't exist. Like if Coinbase employees were like trading on this information and selling and prepping to sell their BCash first, then there's nothing illegal about it. It might go against company policy. These people may or may not deserve to be fired, but there's no criminal violation here as far as, and I'm not even a lawyer and it's obvious to me, right? So once again, shows you that Coinbase doesn't know what they're doing. They prioritized this BCash thing, which they should have just given to people on August 1st, instead of prioritizing SegWit. And they still aren't using SegWit, which is ridiculous.
Jimmy.
Yeah, this is a hilarious story because I do program against APIs once in a while, and this API exposed the fact that they were planning Bitcoin Cash. So I guess there were people in the know. If you do program and you can look at this stuff, it's pretty obvious what's going on. Coinbase is just you do have to feel for Coinbase, right? We knocked them around a bit yesterday, but you do have to feel for them a little bit because they are the target of a lot of hack attempts, and this is something that you have to deal with as a cryptocurrency company. Is you're going to a lot of people are going to try to hack you. And I'm told they have very strict internal processes, and they have phishers and people from that want to hack, offering Coinbase employees a kickback if they can help them hack Coinbase, things like that. So, you have to feel for them somewhat because, this is not easy stuff. But that said, if you're going to be the leader in this industry, like they're purporting to be, you have to deal with this stuff a lot better than they have. Obviously they stopped, they had that major outage as soon as they announced it. It was on, trading was on for 5 minutes, and then they had to shut it down, and then they said they were going to go live at noon or something like that. They had a delay, and they only allowed Bitcoin Cash to USD trading. They didn't even have Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash trading or Bitcoin Cash to Euro trading. All of which I'm not sure why they did that. Probably they had some problems on the back end, and this was a way to mitigate the situation. But come on, guys, you can do some testing and figure this stuff out. You got Coinbase as a company, you gotta step up your game, man. This is kind of embarrassing for the whole industry.
Yeah, well, Jimmy, I will also add that Coinbase is pretty much Bittrex, right? I mean, it's literally becoming a shitcoin exchange, and it should be, and the CME should be embarrassed by using them in their pricing index. It should really be embarrassing for the CME. Andreas, you need to set that one straight because you're an advisor over there.
There's a lot of people involved at Coinbase over there. So whoever can they need to learn how to scale. They need to learn how to not leak this stuff if it's company policy. There was some question whether or not doing this sort of thing is okay as regulated by CME futures or whatever. But Coinbase, get your act together. Come on, guys.
Some friendly advice from Tone and Jimmy to Coinbase. Do you have friendly advice for E-Trade as well, who just said they were going to let clients trade CBOE Bitcoin futures?
I find this very interesting. I'm guessing this will lead to more Bitcoin trading on E-Trade. But that said, GBTC was already there. I think you can trade options there with LedgerX. I'm not entirely sure actually, but this will provide a little more liquidity.
I didn't know LedgerX was integrated with traditional exchanges. I thought it was just options on LedgerX themselves.
Oh, I guess it is on LedgerX themselves. I don't know. They do trade obviously, but yeah, I mean, just more of this stuff allows more liquidity to enter Bitcoin is my guess. But I don't know. This is more Tone's area of expertise, so I'll let him speak. This is expected, right? I'm not really. This is a non-news news. It's they're supposed to do that, right? That's why we have a futures market, so that the retail investor can trade futures markets through brokers like E-Trade. I mean, this is. I haven't had the time to log into my. I haven't had the time to log into my Interactive Brokers account. I got to take a look if I have access. I think also 6 months ago, I turned off data feeds to my futures because I stopped trading futures about a year ago or something. And I only focus on option trading now. So I have all of the option data feeds. I'm not sure if I have the futures data feeds.
I might have to reach out to interactive brokers and see what my data feeds are. So I can show, like, I'm not going to go and open an E-Trade account just to trade the CME futures. Either my exchange lets me trade them or it doesn't. Like, again, I'm too busy to trade. I'm flying out to some island tomorrow or something. So we'll see how good the internet is.
Actually, the E-Trade is doing CBOE futures. And Tone, did you at least check the volume of the CME futures? I heard it's pretty low.
It has to be low because people are unfamiliar with it. None of the Bitcoiners have any accounts with traditional brokers. Very few do. And traditional traders, there's not that many people trading futures. Trading futures is a very dangerous thing. They're very highly leveraged. It's really specialized. And not a lot of hedge funds are getting in this yet, right? Because the smart hedge funds had already bought Bitcoin OTC and are holding on to it themselves. The volume will pick up. I still say that CME is way more credible in the futures market than the CBOE. So I'm expecting most volume to come in CME.
Okay, Jimmy, do you have anything to add to that?
No. I think hopefully it causes more liquidity to be there for Bitcoin. That's about it.
Talking about liquidity, we have the next paper derivative of Bitcoin, which are ETFs. And so the New York Stock Exchange files to list Bitcoin ETFs on the exchange, but they basically file with the SEC, who I think we covered that last week, has at least 10 or 20 applications for Bitcoin ETFs on file. So, Tone, what's going to happen?
Sooner or later, there's going to be an ETF, right? Because now the ETFs can leverage the futures market. Now, I'm not saying it's a good thing, right? Like, I don't know. It's a double-edged sword, right? Like, I don't know what's better. I will say that pro shares know what they're doing, right? The Winklevoss twins were trying to get their ETF, but one of the problems there is, you have the same entity controlling the underlying price. You have the same entity controlling protecting the underlying Bitcoin, and you have the same entity responsible for the actual ETF itself, which is one of the reasons why the SEC said, no way, that's way too centralized of a product. Now, ProShares is a professional ETF company, right? That's what they do. They maintain ETFs. And they have nothing to do with the actual underlying, pretty much, especially in this case. So what they would do is they would leverage the futures in order to get the price of the ETF. So the only real difference between the futures and the ETF, with the future as the underlying of that ETF, is going to be the retail investor is way more comfortable trading the ETF. The ETF is also going to be significantly less leveraged, even though it's using the futures, right? But let's say you would be able, like the ETF would probably, like the one share of the ETF might be like $16, right? It might be at like 100-to-1 ratio. So that when you buy one share of the ETF, you're only spending $16 a share, right? So that means that for every, so if they're using the CBOE futures, which is one Bitcoin underlying, that means for every one Bitcoin future underlying the ETF, that's like 100 shares of the ETF. So you can trade them in much smaller increments, right? And ETFs can be held by, retirement funds, pension funds. I'm not sure about the short side of the ETF. Now, do I think this is great? I don't know, because now we're building this house of cards, right? You have a derivative, you have the futures, which are cash settled on top of the price of Bitcoin. Now you're going to have the ETF settled on top of the future, and then who knows what's going to be built on top of that, right? So it just starts to build this house of cards. Now I am somewhat comfortable with this house of cards being built on top of Bitcoin. But if it was any other altcoin, because these guys are going to push for Ethereum, these guys are going to push for BTrash, these guys are going to push for like Litecoin or something, right? So when it's on an technologically inferior product, there's going to be trouble, and there's going to be monster fallout if those other alternatives come in. Hopefully that ProShares and the CME will continue getting some good, advisors to prevent them from doing that.
Well, I don't know. I kind of want to be able to short some of these altcoins that I think are really scammy. So I wouldn't mind some of that existing.
You short, Jimmy, because if I had the ability to short BCash, I mean, I don't know if I had the time, if I wasn't doing these videos, I probably would have been wrecked right now shorting BTrash.
Yeah, obviously you have to look at all the technical indicators and all that to time it properly. But I mean, I don't know. That might be something. Anyway, I do feel like it is kind of interesting how it's a derivative of a derivative, but it's undoing the future by making it an ETF. Really, what people want to hold is Bitcoin, but they don't want to have the responsibility of controlling their own private keys, and this is what it's enabling. I'm excited about this partly because you know, they likely won't take the fees that like GBTC does, and hopefully it takes a lot of that liquidity and puts it back into Bitcoin instead of putting it in Barry Silbert's pocket. You know, I mean, he's making money hand over fist just by buying Bitcoin on the market, putting it into his GBTC, and selling it on the market. It's so simple. And yet, you know, like if there's an ETF, well, that premium will come down and more people will have fairer access to Bitcoin without having to, you know, pay his 2% management fee and all that other stuff. So that I think would be better for Bitcoin in general, because that liquidity will flow down to the futures and that to Bitcoin, which I think would be good. But yeah, that's
I think we have to keep on going. Tony, you have to leave, right?
Yeah, let's. I have to leave in like a few minutes. I have another interview I gotta do. I'll try to tweet that out. It's with Freedom Phoenix radio show. It'll be on the internet. You can catch it live, or I'll post the video after. Yeah, let's do price. Let me grab screen share. I got about 3 minutes here that we can cover pricing.
Let me stop here. There we go.
All right. Let's move this over. I'm on my Twitter account. Yeah, so once again, guys, check out the tweets by Whale Panda, pretty much exposing the, oh, that was funny, Dark Pill. Good job, man. Where's the, here it is.
That's funny.
Here's the Whale Panda tweet. I retweeted it. It's taking its time. Yeah, so Whale Panda explains who's in control of. I mean, it's circumstantial, but it's pretty damn obvious who's in control of the CNBC's Fast Money Twitter account. Let them know about it. You know, I mean, this is irresponsible and borderline, you know, malicious for self-profit. All right. Anyway, please learn trading. This is the kind of stuff that I talk about. If you're not familiar with the random number generator, it's explained in section 6 on my website in the Learn Trading section, which is part of the educational tools. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, and this week is still, you know, troublesome. The numbers are still positive. Let's see how it ends. And yeah, anytime Bitcoin has weakness, shitcoins will go up, right? Because everybody is a direct competitor, even Litecoin. They're all direct competitors of Bitcoin. There's going to be only one winner. Guys, I keep saying it, and no one's listening. So here's the daily chart. The daily chart went bearish. The last time the daily chart went bearish, according to my indicators, was here for a minute. So that would have been you know, a losing trade going bearish right here. You flip that trade around here, and then you did very, very well. It never went bearish anytime here, but the daily chart has gone bearish yesterday upon this red line. So that's pretty much where it went bearish, and it remained bearish now. We're now below 16,000. Hey, buy the dip. The dip will eventually come. The most likely at this point outcome, I would be looking for a 9 to the downside, and probably this 50-day moving average. So potentially all the way down to like 12,000 or something. I mean, that's what we're looking at potentially. guys, keep in mind, Bitcoin was a year ago today, it was under $1,000, right? And now we're like, now we're all upset that we've fallen from 20K to 16K, right? It's pullback. It's just a pullback. Here's the 4-hour chart. And the 4-hour chart went bearish as of here. I drew this line last time we did this video. Once again, we have another red 2 trading below a red 1. So all I got to do is draw another one of these guys. So if you are trading the 4-hour chart, your bearish entry would have been here. That's where you are. So once again, you get a 2 trading below a 1, boom, you're bearish once again. The hourly chart is, it's very traditional, right? I zoomed out, forget these numbers. I zoomed out so that you can see how the 50-hour moving average has become resistance. It pulled right into the moving average cross, talked about it last time on this show. There's a little red line here showing you your bearish trade based on the indicator. If you're looking at it right now, let's zoom in. I don't know what the numbers are going to say. I haven't looked at this chart. So that's a pretty neat, dead cat bounce here. You can see how we reversed off of this, crazy hammer, and then we did do a 9 to the upside, and we had a reversal candle at candle number 7. It hit the 50-hour moving average. It gave you a 9 sell, and now we're going down. So the short entry would have been, this 2 is not really trading below this 1. They're at the same price. But you can see how this 4 is trading below this 3. So if you were trading the hourly chart using this indicator, that would have been your short position right there, wherever this line is. Looks to be 16,730. And again, you're looking for a red 9 on the hourly. See if you can bounce. You see, you don't know if this bounce is going to be short-term or long-term, but right here, as the 4 starts trading below the 3, you can take on the short trade. So there you go. So that's how I would be using this indicator to time my positions. That's about it. Look, we can look at the BTrash thing. It went bullish right here on a trade, and it's still that way, right? Like, I don't trade scams, right? Like, I don't invest in Bernie Madoff's funds, and I wouldn't hold any altcoin that I know is technologically unsustainable. That's pretty much it. I gotta go, guys. Any closing thoughts, Jimmy? Let me stop screen share.
No, not at the moment. Valentin, you wanna close us out?
Yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks, Tone. A little bit more choppiness for the rest of the week, but we are still good on the weekly, so let's hope for a return. Thanks a lot for watching, and your last words, Jimmy.
This song is done.